In this video, we're going to go over the watch list for the week of March 22nd, 2021. Before we get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in the bio section on social media. Looking at the economic calendar for the week, we have Powell that speaks 9 a.m. on Monday. He speaks again at 10 a.m. on Tuesday and again at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. No, let's make sure he's not speaking anymore the rest of the week. No, just those 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday 9 a.m., Tuesday and Wednesday at 10. So Tuesday and Wednesday he's testifying. What is Monday? He just speaks. It doesn't, let's see. A virtual panel discussion with the banks or something like that. So, but he's testifying on Tuesday and Wednesday along with Janet Yellen. So that could be something you have to keep an eye on Tuesday and Wednesday too. So with that said, we'll get into the watch list now. Remember, the watch list is designed in two areas. One is the bullish side, which means if the market's bullish, those are the ones to watch when the market's strong. And the bearish side is if the market is weak or starts selling off. These are the ones that are going to have the most downside potential. So with that said, I will start with the bearish. Now I have HD up there, Home Depot. Now I know Home Depot is at like resistance on the weekly, and it looks like it could possibly break out. I mean, it had two strong green weeks back to back. To me, it's gone a little too far too fast. It was outside the Keltner channel on the daily, in the oversold condition at the bottom of the channel, and it rocketed above it. Now usually when it gets outside the Keltner channel on the daily, it likes to come back in and retest the middle. So I'm expecting Home Depot to pull back a little, maybe to the 280 area, maybe even the 275 area. So I would watch it underneath the, say, you could say 285, push down to the trend line, which is around 283. Then you got this area right here at 280, which will be a big psychological area because you get it here and you get it here and you get it here. So it was resistance, now support. You could come back and actually find support in this 280 area. So I'd be cautious of that. And if it does manage to break the 280, you have the 277 area. 275 will be a big psychological number. Plus you can see a gap support here, and a little tiny gap up, and right here is where it dropped heavy. So that could be an area it could hold. And if that does break, you got this area right down here, 270, 266, 265, 265 would be better. There's more support right here, and you can see it was resistance for a little bit right there, and then it just plowed right through. So yeah, I could see Home Depot pulling back a little bit. I mean, yeah, it can break out and keep going, but I think that if the market's weak, Home Depot is going to be one that's going to probably get clobbered. So we'll have to see. Now BA is another one. Now I'm looking at it from the point of view that, look at the daily, it's got a descending wedge. It's making lower highs, and it's flattening out right here in the 254 area. So if it does manage to get below 254, it's probably going to get down below the, well, 250 would be a big psychological area if that breaks. Next area would be down here, the 235. Now, what is this? Well, yeah, right. You got the this area right here, 240. Even though it's not showing much on the hourly, but on the daily, it's right there. So 240. Then you get the 235 area. So I could definitely see BA take a little bit of a tumble on the daily. It is a bearish descending triangle, so we'll have to see if that actually happens. CAT is another one. CAT did pull back when I mentioned it last week. Still think it could probably pull back some more. And the RSI in the weekly is still really oversold on the RSI above 75. So I would watch it underneath this 224 area for push down to, let's see, 220, 220 will be a big area. Then you get this 215 area right here. 215, 216. Then you get the 211 to 210. So 210 will be a pretty big area for CAT. Now, if it does manage to get to 210, it's probably more than likely going to bounce or try to bounce. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it did bounce at this 210 area and make another like pop to the 225 area, make a head and shoulders pattern, because you get like a left shoulder right here and you get a head. So if it does manage to come down here, it could have a dead cat bounce and make a nice little right shoulder right here before it gets smashed to 200. So you have a potential head and shoulders right here that could be forming over the next few weeks. So definitely watch CAT for that. Facebook, I know Facebook was strong. It's been running on its own. It's been doing whatever it feels like doing, and yeah, it could break out. But anytime it gets outside this Keltner channel on the daily, it likes to come back in. So anytime I see a stock that gets outside the Keltner channel, it likes to come back in. I mean, you look at it right here. It got out right here and it came back in. Got out, kind of chopped, but went higher. Then it came back in. So anytime it does that, it likes to pull back in. This is the hourly, but this is the daily. So I would watch it underneath 288 for a push to 283, 280. 280 would be a pretty big area. If it doesn't bounce there, you got 275. Then you get this 271, 270 area. And this real big area is right here, the 265 area. So it does manage to come back down. I mean, usually they'll come back down and test the 20 EMA on the daily, but 265 will probably be a really big area for it to hold. So definitely be watching that if it comes back down. So, but like I said, Facebook could just keep going, could go to 300. So, but if the market's weak, Facebook could really take a dive, even though Facebook had a bunch of news on Friday and it just doesn't care about the news. So, but whatever, it is what it is. We'll just have to see what happens. Now, the next one is McDonald's. I know I called out McDonald's on breaking out, making a run. It did that. Now it's kind of stalling out at 225, the 220 area. So I would watch it underneath this 221 area. You can even say 222 if you want. But 221 for a push down to the 220 will be a pretty big area. Then you have 218. Then you have this 215 area. Then you have this little tiny gap fill right here at the 213, 212 will be a pretty big area. So basically anything between 213 and 212 will be a pretty big area for McDonald's to hold. Then you get the 210. Then you get the 208 area. So you could definitely see it possibly coming back and retesting this breakout area. Usually when it has a strong breakout, it likes to come back and retest it. And the area it needs to retest is this 215, 216 area. So definitely watch McDonald's for that. UPS. Now UPS, I mean, it's just channeling right here between the 160, let's say 168 to 157. And the weekly, it's making lower highs and it's flattening out at this 158 area, so 157.50. And if it does manage to break this trend line right here, I mean, I know it broke here and it popped back up, broke here and it popped back up, and did the same thing over here. But the more it touches, the more higher probability it's going to actually break. So then it had this massive breakout right here. So we'll have to see if it actually comes back down to the 150. Now that's if it does manage to break this 157, you get the 155 area, and it loses that 150 be the next big level for it to possibly try to bounce, because it's a psychological number, and the RCT trend line is right there on the weekly at 147. Likely likes to hold. So you can see right here it acted as resistance and acted as support. So I'd likely say it's probably gonna try to bounce off the 150, if not the 146 area. So definitely watch that on UPS. Now on the bearish side, I have a few. Costco is one. Costco, it just took a beating, had so many red days, and it started to reverse. Now it's kind of flagging a little bit. So, but if it does manage to get over this 330 area, it's probably going to end up going to 335. Then you get the 340. Then you get the 345. Basically, every $5, 350 would be the big psychological number on Costco. So yeah, at Costco, these retailers have been getting smashed the last month or a few weeks. Should start turning around with summer coming and more outdoor activities and stuff like that. People are going to be looking to go to Costco and buying outdoor furniture and just going and getting other things at Costco. So Apple is another one. Apple is just it broke out over here on the weekly. It broke out. Now it came back and we tested this breakout area of 118. We'll say 119, round it up. So if it does manage to actually hold this area, I mean, on the weekly, that we could see another push into the 140s. But I would look at it over 120, 121 for a push to 122. Then you get the 124 area. Then you have 125 will be a psychological area. Then you got 126. Basically, almost every whole dollar. 127. And if it does manage to get over this 127, 128 area, it's probably going to push to 130. Now, once it gets this over this 128, 130 area, it could just rocket to 135. So definitely keep an eye on Apple. Now LU is the next one. Lululemon. Summer's coming, spring's here, or coming, I should say, in the next. So I think today is actually the first day of spring, March 21st. But anyways, people are going to go out and buy their yoga pants and yoga short and their yoga apparel, summer clothes and stuff like that. So Lululemon should start taking off, and it's got earnings coming up. It is March 30th, so we could see an earnings run up Lululemon. So I would like it if it does manage to get over this 113 area. Is really been a nuisance for Lululemon. As you can see over here, it was support, then it just got smashed, acted resistance, 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 and it's resistance again. So it's touched it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and it's a nice consolidation on the daily. So usually when you're seeing a consolidation at resistance, it's gearing up for the next push to break through. So I definitely like it. Bad thing about Lululemon is that the options spreads are really, really nasty. So it's something I might take with just common shares, and I already have a synthetic stock going on it, but I may actually take more shares on it for a day trade if it does manage to get over the 316. Actually, you know what? If it gets over 313, push to 316, then you're gonna have 320. It gets out of this 320 area right here, 317 to 320 area, it's gonna probably end up rocketing to 330, which is right here. Then you have the 340 area, so that will be the next big area, 330 and 340, if it does manage to take off. Now Lululemon, when it does take off, it makes really massive candles ranges for the day. So Lululemon is due for a big push. So I would expect, hopefully it will be this week. If it does, Baba is the next one. Now I kind of got a love-hate relationship with Baba, because Baba just has so much drama with the CEO, China, and just the whole deal that happened back months ago, and with the government of China. And I feel like anytime it gets any momentum that something comes out with someone Jack is missing, or whatever, rumors come out, or something stupid happens with China or the CEO, and then it just gets hammered again. So I'm very cautious about Baba because of the drama around it. And but for a day trade, it could be pretty good if it gets over this 241 area, which is the high for Friday. Gets over that, it's probably going to push to 245. Then 250 would be the big psychological number. Now if it manages to break 250, 255, it's going to be a big area, because this is where it's been holding that 255 area before it collapsed. I think this is when the government thing started happening, where they were going to start what do you want to call it, just getting a firm grip on Baba and its retail dominance and stuff like that. So Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Push to 250, even 255 is possibly in the cards. I mean, the daily looks like it's ready to break out. You get a nice little setup right here. You can see that's a cup, possible handle, whatever, or just a double top on the daily. The weekly is oversold. You get a bullish divergence going on with the histogram right there. So the histogram is going positive, starting to go positive on the daily, and the weekly it's getting there. So I mean, histogram is positive already right there. So I think Baba could have a strong move too if it can break out of this 241 area. So definitely watch that. Got a couple on here I don't usually look at. Visa. Now Visa had antitrust issues like Facebook, but Facebook didn't care. Visa does care. Visa, I think this is a buying opportunity. It could go down more. It could go down to 200 to 195, but I would definitely watch it over this 211, even the 210 area. Gets over 210, it's probably going to end up rocketing up to 220. So Visa could have a strong reversal. And I was looking at it any time it has a big red candle, like right here, had a really big red candle. It just kind of like, well, that was earnings. Well, was it earnings? Yeah, it was probably earnings, this candle right here. And it just bounces back pretty hardcore, like right here, had a big sell-off, and it just bounced back. So, these sell-offs aren't as radical as this one, but because this had like a lot of volume. It could go lower, like I said, but I would definitely watch it for potential reversal on Visa. I mean, look at the hourly. I mean, the hourly is below 20 RSI, and the daily. I mean, the daily's only down to 39. It's not too drastic on the daily, but definitely keep an eye on it. Now, another one to keep an eye on is Peloton, PTON. Now, the only reason I'm looking at this is because of the weekly. I mean, it's holding this 90, you used to say 100 area. It bounced off it. It bounced off it here and took off. Now it bounced off it here. Got green, and it's just like got an inside candle on the weekly. Two inside candles over 100 is looks pretty good to me. So I would look at it. I don't know what the options change looks like on Peloton. So this is something I've never traded before, and I'm just looking at it and seeing, okay, it could have an opportunity here. So I would watch it over 110 for a push to 113, 115. Then you get this 120 area that seems to be pretty big right here. If it does get over this 120, you get the 127 area, 130. If it does manage to get over that, then you can have a big area right here in the 137, 138 area. So this is something I might be interested in if it does manage to get over the 110 on Peloton. So I've never traded it. I don't know much about it, but the chart looks like it could have a possible reversal on especially on the weekly. The weekly looks pretty good for a possible reversal. I mean, as you can see, the RSI, not the RSI, the SMI is oversold on the weekly. So it does have some potential. Have to wait and see what happens with it. And the last one is Spotify. Spotify SPOT. Now it's every time it gets down to this RCT trend line on the weekly, it likes to bounce. It started to get there, and last week it actually touched it and bounced, and it started to go off, but it came back down a little bit. So I like it if it can get over 280. You could say even over 280. You have resistance right here at the 290 area. We'll look at it. Yeah, 280 is right here. You can even see, say 275, but 280 should be pretty good. If it does manage to get over 280, you get 285, then you get the 291, 290 area, then you have the big psychological number of 300. We have to see what happens when it gets there. Now, if it does manage to get over that, you have 306, then you get the 320 area. So 320 will be pretty significant at 320, and the 310 area will be pretty big too. So I would likely think that if it does manage to reverse, it could stall out at 300, and if it does manage to get to 300, 310 is probably going to be as far as it's going to go, not unless it gets really a lot of momentum. But But yeah, that's going to do it for the watch list. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're not in the room, hopefully we'll see you in there. And it should be a good week, minus Powell's probably going to make it a little choppy in the morning, but we'll address that every morning. I post what I think and what my possible plays are, depending on how that's set up in the morning. And sometimes, even though you have these levels out and you have a nice setup, that you have these big gap ups and big gap downs that kind of change the whole thesis and change my whole outlook. And that's why it's important to be in the room and understand how things change overnight, and that the thesis will change quite a bit too based on how things gap up and gap down. So hope to see you in the room, and thanks for watching.